Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Jack Weinberger and Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia.
Jack, get that hat off right now.
Yeah, it's got his sunglasses. Oh, yeah, is that Clemson?
S. No. You can't wear the Notre Dame shirt and the Clemson hat. Pick one and move on.
I'm repping Clemson today because my sister's good friend moved into Clemson for her freshman year a couple days ago. So I'm repping them today for her.
Oh, I
didn't. We had the first years move into UVA today and yesterday. Absolutely miserable.
Chaos on campus.
Yeah, moving days. I'm helping my sister move in tomorrow.
No, I mean it's just
our university.
The university is a beautiful, tranquil, peaceful place, and then the undergraduates show up, and then it's just there's people everywhere. There's cars, there's crowds, there's people who don't know where they're going. There's people who might want or need things from you. It's a mess.
And my sister's on like the 5th floor for dorm too. And I hurt my back a couple days ago. I don't know how, it just hurts. And I got to help carry up like furniture and stuff like that tomorrow. So it's going to be pretty brutal.
Jack's got his sunglasses back on for anyone who's listening on audio. He's got his sunglasses, a hat. And he freaked out my family walking into the house. He had my sister, my aunt, my mom, they're all upstairs. They had no idea who Jack was walking in.
Yeah, they said I looked taller. They said I looked taller and older. I'm like, thanks.
I just hear them going like, who's this creature? Like standing. You said you were talking to our neighbor?
Yeah, I was talking to our neighbor for a couple minutes in the front yard, and then I walk in the door and Paul's mom, aunt, and sisters.
I just hear
given how frequently Jack shows up, it's not surprising they didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
I think I look a little more attractive today than usual. Am I wrong?
I just hear my sister going like, who is this walking into the house? I mean, I can see. Yeah, look.
I look more attractive today.
Creep is another word.
They were all staring at me like, "Oh, who's this dude?" So speaking of creep, I got a camp story.
So last week with the JJ McCarthy news, obviously tearing his meniscus, a lot of people were wondering where the hell our reaction was, and for good reason, as Ziggy and I are Vikings fans. Honestly, I took off to go on vacation because one of the guy whose show I produced took off, and I was like, all right, let me get out quickly before the regular season starts. Of course,
every time you're not available, something bad for the Vikings happens. Jordan Love mega extension, JJ McCarthy hurt.
Yeah, no. Whenever I'm out of pocket, that's when there's some major news. It's like specifically related to the teams with our biggest audiences. So the JJ McCarthy stuff, we put out a couple reels and things like that. Just of course, JJ got hurt. Of course, he tore his meniscus. What was your reaction to that? You just kind of chuckled to yourself, like, yeah, this checks out.
Do you want to know my honest reaction?
Yeah,
was, oh, this is pretty sick. Like, I'll get Justin Jefferson. He'll slide now in fantasy.
No, in fantasy.
Like, I'll get him at like 7, and I think Darnold's going to be good.
Oh, well, Darnold should be good.
I mean, I'm like, oh, this stinks for the kid, like his first year, blah blah. But he wasn't going to play anyway, most likely. So,
and he's going to play at some point this year.
So I actually went on to
difference like later this year and next year. There really is no difference. It's just a shame he got hurt.
In terms of his ultimate like potential and everything, this shouldn't be a problem. But in terms of like even for next year, missing out on those reps isn't good. It's not. You'd rather have him practicing and growing, but
I don't think it matters.
Darnold was going to be the guy. I actually was saying right before he tore the meniscus, I was saying I might even lean towards Darnold playing the whole year. So things happen. It's disappointing because we're going to talk about. So today's rundown. We're going to talk a little bit about Brian Flores and the Tua Tagovailoa drama. Then we're going to get into the rookie quarterbacks. And that's where it's disappointing because I'm seeing all the rookie quarterbacks play pretty well for the most part in the preseason. And most of them are playing well.
We still have yet to play rookie cookie.
I know. Rookie. Well, we don't know what that is, Jack. We don't know what rookie cookie is.
I picked Jayden Daniels.
But we'll have I
can explain it to you if you want.
We'll have no. We'll have all the rookie quarterback talk. And then a big quarterback decision was made recently, one that we were made fun of when we made the prediction, but we actually were right. We'll tell you about that towards the end of the show here. But the reason that we weren't able to record was I was on a cruise, and not only was it I on vacation, I was out on the ocean where I had no Wi-Fi at all. So like we couldn't even put out any sort of reaction. Ziggy, I thought that there might just be one funny story. Is this worth telling off to Ziggy?
Yeah, why not? Ziggy won't care, but I think
it makes no sense to tell it, but it was just funny to me because I think God smiled on me on Thursday night, the first night of the cruise. And ultimately,
I'm not sure God smiles on anyone who goes on cruises.
Well, actually, that's what I was learning for several reasons.
Do you think God smiles on me, Ziggy, or no?
Oh, 100%.
You'd say so?
Oh, 100%.
What do you got? What's the story, Paul?
It's like actually second night of the cruise. we have these friends, Felipe, that's actually not his name, but we call him Felipe. Felipe, two other guys we decided to try out the nightclub. All right. Because the nightclub on the cruise, Jack's friend, Mike Pellegrini, talked it up to us. He was like, hey, this is the place to be. And it had been a while since I'd gone to a nightclub. So I roll out with the three guys. My buddy is at the poker table cleaning up. He actually blacked out at the poker table and won $500. Kind of unbelievable. It's insane. But
better lucky than good.
Yeah, I know. We're on our way to the nightclub, and Felipe overhears 6 Latina bachelorettes just sitting at a table. And like he picks up like on like the accent or something like that. And he goes over and he starts speaking Spanish. The other two guys I'm with walk away, and I'm just kind of waiting for Felipe to go up to the club. And bachelorettes like wave me over, the Latina bachelorettes. And I'm like, all right, how many times in your life do you have a Latina bachelorette party waving you over?
Why are we telling this story on air?
Well, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't go anywhere bad. And I just sit down and I'm like, all right, like, let's see what happens. And I sit down. One of them goes like, my friend was hitting on you last night. It's like, what? What are you talking about? They're like in line for pizza. And I'm going like that. I barely even remember. I mean, I was a little drunk, but I wasn't. It's like 2:30 in the morning. And they're like, yeah, you ordered pepperoni. It's like, oh, I did. All right. So this actually happened. I'm like, well, where's your guys' friend? Like, oh, she got sick this morning. She like has a stomach bug. She's out for the cruise. So I was like, all right, strike one. Like, there we go. The Latina who likes me out for the cruise.
Well, but it's a good thing that you weren't paying too much attention, or you would have gotten that stomach bug. So
yeah, there you go. There's the bright side to everything.
Yeah, stomach bug to me is like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Oh well, you would have ran. You actually would have ran.
I would have jumped off the ship and swam to the nearest land.
So anyway, now they start calling me like punto. I don't know what the word is, but for octopus paw, that's what it translated to. I'm like, surely that's an insult. Like that has to be an insult. And they're like, no. They remember the octopus that would pick the World Cup games? I guess in Mexico, that was like really big. Was it punto? Is that how you say it?
Pulpo.
Pumpo?
Pulpo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was its name.
Yeah, pulpo paw.
I know pulpo is Spanish for octopus.
So yeah,
it's one of the only things I remember from high school.
So call me pulpo paw. Like, I still kind of think it was an insult. The next thing I know, Felipe's gone. Now I'm 6v1ing this entire Hispanic bachelorette party. I'm already in over my head. So I'm like, and I'm sober tonight. So I'm like, all right, let's just see what happens. Next thing I know, I'm on the dance floor of this cruise ship with 6 Latinas in a circle around me chanting pulpo paw. And I'm like, all right, this is like, I'm just going to own the moment. Like, I'm just going to enjoy this moment. I start dancing with one of them, like a little salsa dance. And I'm like the gringo. I'm not like just a regular white guy in a dance floor. I'm like the quintessential white guy. I cannot dance at all. Like the Latinas are trying to teach me how to dance. One of them I'm getting along with great, having an awesome time. Next thing I know, I blink my eyes. I'm smoking a cigarette in this casino at 2 a.m. with this one Latina. And I don't smoke cigarettes. This just happened. And I'm like, oh, so like you coming up to New York sometime? And she's like, yeah, actually, I'm coming up in October. Like I'm going to be there. And I'm like she's a really nice girl. And I'm like, all right, like that's awesome. Like, what are you doing? She's like, well, actually, I'm really kind of hoping I get engaged when I get up in October. And I just went like, all right, good night. Like, there we go. There, of course. First one, stomach bug. Second one, getting engaged. And I was like, she was very, very nice. It was a lot of fun hanging out with the Latinas, but it was, it was kind of duality of like, oh, here's this unbelievable situation. But at the same time, there had to be a little drawback. But
it's like drafting JJ McCarthy and he tears his meniscus.
Exactly.
That's how
you tie it together. It was a great preseason week 1, a lot of optimism, and then right when you started to buy in, torn meniscus.
See, fans, we do talk about football here once in a while.
That's what happens to guys like us sometimes.
I mean,
we get the unfortunate breaks.
Yo quiero hablar español.
How old are they? 22.
23 years old. That was like our age. I like a little.
I prefer like 19, 20, but 23 is not bad.
Yeah, I don't. Don't even.
Are you kidding?
Don't even know. All right, let's get into some football here. So,
I you put his hand over his head.
So, preseason week 3 is coming up. Regular season's right around the corner, but we got a little bit of drama over the past few days when Tua Tagovailoa went on the Dan Le Batard show and was asked about the difference between a coach who believes in him, Mike McDaniel, and a coach who didn't believe in him, Brian Flores. And this is what he had to say here.
Can you explain to us the difference in practical terms between having a coach who did believe in you the way that he did and the difference between that and what was happening with Flores?
Yeah. Well, to put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you sucked at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad. And you hear it more and more. You start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. And it was, I mean, it's basically been 2 years of training that out of not just me, but a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year all the way till now.
Okay, so I actually didn't mind most of what he said up until essentially calling Brian Flores a terrible person. Like, I had no problem with him saying I didn't like being coached hard. It's, this just how some people are.
Hey, it's like he was describing my advisor.
Your advisor?
Yeah, I'm doing the academic thing. This is a common trope among academic advisors. They just call you terrible people.
Oh, that's
of course. My boy Walter doesn't do that, but I've heard many stories.
Do you take the Tua approach and are you respond well to that though? No, right?
Oh, I mean, no, that's just every time I'm sitting down to write a paper, that's what I tell myself. You're terrible. You don't belong here. There's nothing you're going to do, right? And then lo and behold, a paper comes out and it's usually pretty good.
Yeah, it was just Brian Flores playing a bit of a motivational role there in my eyes.
So you don't, so you find
I'm totally fine. I mean, my 8-year-old trial baseball coach was ruthless.
Honestly, no, I know,
we were 120 and
we're not professional athletes or anything like that, but I remember when I played football, peewee football, I left my ear pad in the car one day for practice, and I was like, Coach, like, can I go grab my ear pad? And I think I'm like 10 years old, seriously. And he looks at me, he's like, okay, Jane, go get your ear pad. And again,
okay, that's just weird.
I'm a 10-year-old. Oh, they were really hard on us then. But again, I'm a 10-year-old. I look back at him and I went like, Coach, my name's Paul, Coach. And he was just like, oh, just go get it, Farrington. And but as I've gotten older, I respond better to when people are hard on you. But I guess for Tua, that's just not the way it works.
I mean, I think for a kid, it's different than when you're a pro.
Oh, 100%. You shouldn't be screaming at a 10-year-old kid.
Like when you're Tua and you're a professional quarterback and you're being coached. I mean, Brian Flores doesn't mean that. It's just a tactic.
And Brian Flores should probably realize at some point that's not working and adjust. And I know that's part of Brian Flores. Grew up in Brooklyn, New York, was under Belichick. Like, that's one rooted in who he is growing up. I mean, we know in New Jersey, New York, people are a little harder. Like, they're a little harder. And then that was this coaching style that he was brought up in. But, he should probably adjust to that. But at the same time, I didn't like Tua saying a terrible person. Like, come on. It's 2 years ago.
I do understand, too, where Tua is coming from, where the most important thing for succeeding, or at least one of the most important, is confidence in yourself. Mm-hmm. And confidence in yourself comes from confidence in those around you. So I understand when you are being told you don't belong here, then you're not succeeding.
Yep.
That gets to you 100%. So when your head coach is saying, you're the guy, you're perfect for this, there comes the confidence, there comes the team believing in you. So I understand where Tua's coming from as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to play what Brian Flores had to say about it in response?
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up here in a second.
Yeah, because I think when we're considering whether or not it's valid, it's worth thinking about what he thinks about it too.
Yeah, and real quick before we do play this clip here, there was a big graphic that was people have been showing about Tua's stats with Flores. He was 15-8, 66 completion percentage, 4,467 yards, 27 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, versus under McDaniel, the first 2 seasons, 19-11 record, just 1% better completion percentage, 67, 8,172 yards, a ton more yards, 54 touchdowns, literally double, and 22 interceptions versus the 15. Part of that is, Jalen Waddle came in at the end of the Flores term, and then Tyreek Hill joined with Mike McDaniel. Like, this Dolphins team has gotten a lot better as well. But to be fair, even with pressure on Tua, like there was pressure on Brian Flores about being replaced. Like people were talking about Deshaun Watson coming in that whole time and taking over for Tua. Stephen Ross tried to bring in, it was Sean Payton and Tom Brady. Like there was pressure on everyone in Miami at that time. So it wasn't just like Tua was the only one facing pressure. Here's how Brian Flores responded.
I'm happy, genuinely happy for the success that Tua's had. And I really wish him nothing but the best. And, I think, player relationships are very important to me. Part of coaching is correcting. I'm always going to correct. I'm always going to have a high standard. And I think, look, I've done a lot of reflecting and, on this situation and, reflecting on the situation, communication. I think there's things that I could do better, for sure. And I've grown in that way. And I've tried to apply the things that I could do better and the things that I've learned, over the last, 2-3 years. But I would say over the long haul, I've had a lot of great relationships over my 21-year career here in the league. Players, coaches, personnel, equipment, people in the kitchen. I mean, really across the board, I've had a lot of great relationships. I'm going to continue to do that. But I'm also always looking to get better and involved. No different than as a coach, whether it's schematics or personnel or evaluations. I'm always looking to get better. I'm always looking for dialogue in meetings with coaches, with players. I don't care where a good idea comes from. You guys have heard me say that. And, I'm open to getting better. And that's always always my mindset.
Thought you started crying there for a second, Ziggy, while we were listening to that.
That was a little too short.
I was so touched by what Brian Flores had to say that I couldn't resist.
I'm actually proud of the way that Brian Flores responded to that as a Vikings fan. I thought he said all the right things. He could have easily come up and just kind of, pushed it all to the side, but that seemed genuine to me. Like that seemed very heartfelt.
He said he was trying. He's reflected. He's trying to grow.
He's trying to be a coach. Like that is the coach that Brian Flores is. He's hard on his guys, and sure, there's a line I'm sure that you can cross.
He clearly did cross it.
Yeah. It sounds like he did with Tua. But I don't think this needs to be anything bigger. Like,
then you got to know it's just a tactic. I mean, he's not serious. Of course, he knows Tua is the guy for that job. I think it's a coaching tactic.
I bet Flores went a little bit over the line, and Tua was a little too sensitive.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit of both.
That's really all it.
And it's going to get brushed under the rug.
Yeah. I mean, that's as a coach, I mean, what makes the really great coaches great when you read about what people like when you read about any of the great coaches, I think particularly of Wooden, the thing they can do really well is tell who their players are and then adjust their approach to who that player is. Mm-hmm. Right. So you'll hear, if you go back, I live around UCLA, right? So you hear stories about this guy all the time. And every single player who played for him can tell you a time where they really felt like he knew them and coached them in the way they need to be coached. That takes a lot of time to build up those kinds of skills. And it takes screwing up a lot of times, right? Getting good at anything requires screwing up. So I certainly think, right, every coach has their style. Flores needed and probably still needs to continue to get better. But having somebody say, yeah, look, I could have done some things better. I hope it's the best for those guys. I didn't mean anything by it. That's as much as you can hope for, I think, and gives me some optimism that he's not stuck in his ways.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't like was Tua calling him a terrible person.
I don't think Tua meant that.
I don't think he did either. I really don't.
I think he just meant look, it felt horrible to have a person treat me like that, which I'm sure it did.
Josh Metellus and Harrison Phillips, two of the Vikings starters, went up there with Brian Flores before saying that. So I think all this gets brushed under the rug, but it was definitely
it's week 3 of preseason. We need a story.
Yeah, we need a preseason story. That's basically what it comes down.
That's
to.
really all this. Yeah,
that's really what this comes down to. But Flores went a little too far, I'm sure, to a little sensitive, maybe. And that's okay.
A little bit of a warm weathered South Florida wimp. something else came to mind there. But
rookie QBs now. Well, let's talk some rookie QBs.
Wimp.
Talking about people that need coaching.
Ziggy,
Speaking of people who need coaching. So
I'm a simp.
the news that broke yesterday, Bo Nix has won the Broncos starting quarterback job. First Broncos rookie QB since, anyone know?
Wait, first Broncos
Rookie QB since blank to start week 1 of the season.
You know, I was about to say Peyton Manning.
Paxton Lynch.
Since John Elway.
Yeah, John Elway.
John Elway.
You also
In 1983, he beat the Steelers 14-10.
I almost said Peyton Manning. Can you believe that?
Well, hey, that's the last time the Broncos had a quarterback, really. It's actually crazy how long it's been. There's a lot of Bo Nix hype going around right now, and I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for Broncos fans getting hyped up and wanting to believe, because look, I'm looking right here. Since 2015, when they won the Super Bowl, this is their standing in the division: third, fourth, third, second, fourth, second. No playoff appearances. A string of quarterbacks: Simeon, Keenum, Flacco, Locke, Bridgewater, like Russell Wilson. It's been horrendous in Denver for a decade. It's crazy to think, a decade. The Broncos have basically been irrelevant. And if Bo Nix looks good in the preseason and that people want to get excited, even if it's against backups, I'm all for it. Here are his numbers before we get into this. 23 of 30 so far, 205 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 116.7 passer rating. In the preseason week 2 win over Green Bay, 8 for 9, 80 yards, 1 TD, 140.7 QB rating. They've scored on 6 of the 7 preseason drives with Bo. Field goal, touchdown, tight end fumble, field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. So a lot of hype. And Ziggy, you said before we got on that Broncos fans weren't going to be very happy with what you had to say. Are you about to rip apart Bo?
I'm not going to rip Bo apart, but I think he had clearly the worst preseason of any rookie quarterback that played. And I'm sort of baffled by the really positive.
I'm not quite sure how you can just
worse than like Drake Maye.
Yeah.
Okay, please elaborate.
I mean, when you're looking at what a performance is for a quarterback, you have to put it in the context of who they are and what they need to do, right? And stylistically, the kind of quarterback that Bo Nix wants to be is like a Drew Brees type guy, right? Gets the ball out quickly, delivers it accurately. Not a lot of explosive plays, but not a lot of mistakes either, right? Sure. Well, he lived up to half of that. There were not a lot of explosive plays. There was 1 explosive play while he was on the field. Not making mistakes, on the other hand, that he didn't quite live up to. The worry I have with Bo Nix is if you want him to succeed this year, you need to see him throwing the ball quickly and with anticipation. And there just weren't a lot of instances where he was anticipating what routes were going to be open. His time to throw was the slowest of any rookie quarterback that played. There are a lot of plays you can pull up, right? From that near interception to a few others, where his failure to anticipate routes getting open caused problems. And there were a couple of times where there were open deep receivers and he turned it down for scrambles or shorter targets, right? Like, as an NFL quarterback, you have to be willing to throw, even leverage deep balls. And Bo Nix, at least as far as I saw, wasn't able to do that. So while I think, it wasn't terrible, Bo Nix consistently made mistakes that he won't be able to get away with in the NFL. And that didn't come with the benefit of seeing him contribute a whole lot of explosion to the offense.
So okay, and just to clarify your comments now, so that people are going to be mad about this when they hear this. So you're saying overall good preseason performances, but a couple glaring mistakes that will be kind of brought to light.
I mean, he had consistent timing issues, and that was brought to light already. I know he led scoring drives, but you could see over and over again this caused problems for the Broncos on their preseason drives. And he simply cannot operate as the kind of quarterback that Denver wants him to be unless he gets better at that, and a lot better very quickly, because he's the week 1 starter.
This man sounds like an Oregon State fan. Are you an Oregon State fan? You do like the Beavers, don't you? I remember you said
I do prefer Oregon State to Oregon.
You do. Yeah. You do prefer Oregon State. Yeah, that's where this is coming from. I know for a fact. Who am I to? I've learned my lesson trying to fight and argue with Ziggy, so I respect his.
No, look, I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, I think Bo Nix. You got to understand, it's his second NFL game, and I mean, he's a rookie. I thought he was very good. I mean, I thought if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm pleased and I'm excited.
So,
but I totally get the where it's coming from.
My bigger concern for Bo Nix is it's not that I don't think he's going to be an okay quarterback. I just question what the ceiling is actually going to be with him. A lot of people thought he would come in and do well with the Broncos offense. That was the best scheme fit that everyone was talking about after the draft, was Sean Payton and Bo Nix. 61 starts in college. He's an older quarterback, 24 years old, 45 touchdowns last year, lit up the Pac-12 offensive player of the year. Like, we know that Bo Nix was, for the most part, of most of the rookie quarterbacks, ready to go into his system and play. And what I question, though, is, and this kind of goes back and ties in a little bit with what you're saying, Ziggy, is, if he's going to just be checking down and a little late here or there, like, the Broncos will move the ball during the season. Like, they'll go down the field, but how good can the Broncos really be with Bo? And even though they're playing well in the preseason, the headline of the article is Packers lose to Broncos 27-2 with 31 players out, including all of their starters. That's literally the headline. So I'm not quite where you are. Like, I'm not as pessimistic as you sounded. I think that this is the most promising that quarterback room has looked, in a long time, having someone. But at the same time, I'm looking at this saying, okay, you know what? Like, it's preseason, it's backups. You can only get so excited. If this was JJ McCarthy, I'd be all.
Also that's kind of Bo Nix's game. It was that at Oregon too. It's not deep down the field. It's guys in space, shorter passes,
that's what the
intermediate.
Broncos want, but Ziggy's saying he's struggling there.
No, if you've got an open guy on a mesh concept and you don't throw it to the guy deep and you don't throw it to the guy underneath, and instead you wait too long and scramble and get a couple of yards, like, that's not going to cut it in the kind of system he needs to play in. What made Drew Brees so effective was that pre-snap, post-snap, the ball was always right where it needed to be on time. He didn't hesitate. And when defenses played aggressive to cut off those short routes, he was able to recognize guys were going to get open and deliver it on time. Again, Bo Nix may well develop the ability to do this. When we're talking about his ability to succeed early this year, it's going to be a big adjustment for him. And unless he gets a lot better pretty quickly, he doesn't have the explosive upside, like you're saying, Paul, that some of these other quarterbacks do, to make up for mistakes on shorter throws. You need to be right almost always if you're playing in this kind of a system. Whereas even though the mistakes might be more glaring, if you're Caleb Williams and can generate big explosive plays easier, that makes up for some of the consistency struggles.
That's why
I'm grading Bo Nix on a kind of curve.
That's the thing as well, is I do remember when we were talking about the quarterback prospects pre-draft a couple months back. I did say, we all agreed that when you watched him at Oregon, how he played his game, he had guys open.
You said that.
Like, he had guys open by 25 yards. Like, those guys, they were track stars out in space, and defenders were not even within 20 yards. We saw that time and time again. And that's where the adjustment comes into play now in the NFL, in the big leagues.
It's I don't think any of us disagree with starting Bo Nix, right? He should be the guy we starter, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, he needs experience. He's still clearly the best guy in that room, no question about it.
I completely agree. One, he's the best guy in the room. Two, the situation in Denver is a little different from, let's say McCarthy's healthy. Vikings probably want to roll out Sam Darnold anyway, because yes, he's a little better than JJ in all likelihood, and you feel you could compete a little bit more. Obviously, the Penix and Kirk Cousins, then Caleb. Like, there's no one in Chicago, so the way that the situation worked for Bo Nix, it's easy for him to come in, get the reps. The Broncos aren't supposed to be that good this year anyway, and hopefully by mid-season, again, Ziggy's not saying Bo Nix might not be good by middle of the season. He's just saying earlier on, it's like, you're not going to see these preseason type of performances. Probably there'll be more mistakes.
I might actually start Jarrett Stidham.
Really?
Like, Jarrett Stidham was able to survive.
It has to be Bo.
Survive in the SEC.
Oh yeah.
Bo Nix, it got him, and he had to leave. What does that show you? I'm serious about that.
So Bo,
what do you think, Ziggy?
I think Ziggy thinks your college takes are the worst of all time.
I don't think they're the worst of all time, but I do think
they're up there. Okay, so another quarterback who was named the starter just recently, Jayden Daniels with the Commanders, went 10 for 12, 78 yards versus the Dolphins, 2 rushes for 13 yards. Chris Sims put out a tweet. There was a bunch of people talking about Jayden Daniels' performance, and I was just a little confused. He said Jayden Daniels may not have shown the wow plays we saw from Caleb this past weekend, but the Commanders have to be pumped about what they got. He's in command. The ball comes off his hands so easily and fluid. I actually didn't think it was more to do with Caleb. Like Caleb had maybe a wow play or two. But I thought Jayden played really well.
Daniels
actually,
was so much better than Caleb Williams.
I thought in preseason week 2, Jayden Daniels was probably, I mean, him or Bo was the best performance. I thought
he completed 82% of his passes.
He's 10 for 12 for 78 yards. Like I thought he looked really good because we couldn't really react to him after week 1. He threw the ball twice. I mean, he had the really nice deep ball, but there just wasn't much to work off of. In this game, I look up and down the Commanders roster and I say, if he's able to get the ball out quick, which I thought he was, to the playmakers that they have, it's not like the Patriots who have nobody. You have Terry McLaurin. I actually think I'm still not high, but I believe in Jahan Dotson. Like, I actually think the Commanders could be decent. That defense should be good too.
We saw a bit of a chemistry building up.
Shaking his head.
We saw
I agree
between Daniels and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was against the Dolphins, right? That sort of deep play where he looked on Dotson and then threw it to McLaurin. Yeah. Maybe you might have some questions of how he got there, but that was a genuinely impressive pass that not everyone makes every time in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, Commanders fans, I'm sure, feel this way, but it's true. Like the atmosphere surrounding them seems like it's much more about what they've been in the past rather than what they have now. There's a fair amount to be excited about on this roster. They've got a decent enough offensive line. I think you hope after some of the signings they made this offseason, hoping that like Cosme grows into the role a little bit. They've got some good wide receivers. Like it's not, if Jayden Daniels has a chance to play competitive football this year in a way that Drake Maye just doesn't.
Yeah, and you look at what Washington has, and we've been talking about the Bears as a potential wild card team. I bet there are a lot of Commanders fans who are sitting there right now going, hey, what about us we're not going to beat out the Eagles or Cowboys, but like, what about us for that last wild card spot in the NFC? Like there's not a lot of competition for that last spot in terms of like elite competition. So if Jayden Daniels starts playing well and he's moving the ball around, he's running, like he's got to make sure he gets down. Again, we said that after the Vikings game with McCarthy, please get down, and lo and behold, he had a torn meniscus half the game. But if he can stay healthy, I think Commanders fans are starting to look at the situation here and saying, hey, why not us?
I will say
the exact situation of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
Oh, with Caleb.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Ziggy?
I was going to say, one thing that did stand out to me as you talk about guys taking hits is Jayden Daniels looked pretty timid hit-wise out there. There were a couple of times when throws were inaccurate because he leaned away from pressure. Mm-hmm. That could just as easily be, I mean, it was 2 throws, right? Who knows if it's just a small sample size, if it's because it's preseason, he doesn't want to get lit up, whatever. That's the only concern, actually, I really had watching him was how he was when pressure was coming. But assuming that's just a preseason fluke off a small sample size, a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, I was watching that game just thinking to myself, if I were a Commander fan, I'd start getting a little excited. And you got to always hamper expectations with rookies. But yeah, like they're another team like the Broncos. It's just been, I mean, pull up their record by season. It's just, they get crushed every year. Like they're horrible.
Since 2000, they started 27 quarterbacks.
Yeah, 27 quarterbacks. They have five playoff appearances. Haven't won one game.
Since Kirk Cousins left, their leading starters have been Alex Smith, Case Keenum, Alex Smith again, Taylor Heineke, and Sam Howell.
They're another fan base where if you're going to buy in a little bit more, I'm okay with it. Like have some fun. All right, a couple more quarterbacks here, and then we'll get on to that mystery quarterback, that mystery decision we said at the top of the show here. So Caleb Williams, who we've known he's going to be the starter the whole time. 6 for 13, 75 yards, 1 rush for 7 yards and a touchdown in the third preseason game, actually, for the Bears, but the second one in which he played. And this was funny, guys, because we came on and did a reaction after the first game Caleb played in, and really gassed him up. I mean, we really gassed him up on the show. Jack wasn't on that one, or else.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Maybe we wouldn't. Yeah, we would have said
pump the brakes. I would have said pump the brakes.
Yeah, Jack would have yelled at us, but Ziggy and I got a little nervous about what we saw. I thought this second game from Caleb was a little bit more of what we'll actually see earlier in the year before he figures it out. You know, the first few drives he's on, I was getting texts on the cruise ship, and you guys, I said, like, how's he looking? And I think producer Zach wrote back, Not good. Like a bunch of 3-and-outs. Didn't really move the ball. And then on that last drive, he came in. And that's when you saw the spin out to the left, throw running to his left, perfect, a 40-yarder right into Adunze's lap. The rollout to the right, fire to the back of the end zone. Adunze was standing out, but still a crazy good throw. And then the scramble touchdown where he's running all over the place, and you see the improvisation that people talk about. It actually kind of reminded me of my golf game almost. Shank, 270-yard drive. That's why I come back.
This dude's just Johnny Manziel. Like, he's just the next Johnny Manziel. No. Yeah, yes, he is. Like, Johnny Manziel that dude was so amazing. Like, beat Alabama, won the Heisman freshman year.
You're talking against, like, college to pro is very different.
But, oh, yeah, I know.
Johnny Manziel
it is very different. Yes, it is. Yeah, he was great in college and sucked in the NFL.
Johnny Manziel also was going out and drinking till 4 a.m. Like the mental side. First off, the physical side.
Williams was painting his fingernails, dude.
We can't even compare the Johnny Manziel and Caleb.
Johnny Manziel was so flashy as well. Like, he had those plays like that was freaking amazing. Like, he had those dazzling plays once in a while, and he was a bust. I think Caleb's the same thing. Like, he'll go 4 straight 3-and-outs, have a great play. Everyone's 4 straight 3-and-outs, great play. That's what it's going to be. I'm telling you.
I think that's being unfair to what we saw from Caleb Williams. I agree there were problems.
It was Manziel. That's like a ideal Manziel stat line last weekend. I think that's what Caleb Williams is going to be.
All right, Jack.
Great throw. Wow. Amazing. Only he can do that. Fantastic.
Well, we get that you don't like Caleb Williams, and you aren't willing to give many reasons why, other than comparing him to players that look sort of like him, maybe if you squint a lot.
People like
Jack doesn't like Caleb Williams because
people liked Manziel too.
Bet on him to win, and Utah beat him.
People liked Manziel too, and I hated Manziel, and I was right.
There's a huge difference though between Johnny Manziel and Caleb.
I think Manziel was better.
Why?
Can we just not talk about Caleb Williams on the show if you're going to be on it? Because you're just going to say stupid stuff the whole time.
I think is that how it's going to be? What's is that a crime? Like, people out there will agree with me. Okay. Manziel was amazing. He was a Heisman winner his freshman year.
Yeah, but there are reasons like that he didn't work out as a pro quarterback. That Caleb has better attributes as a quarterback.
I think the play style is very similar with those two.
No, they both run around and can make throws with different arm angles, but Caleb is just better at football, and then he's also not going out and getting drunk
Caleb Williams also played really excellently in structure this weekend.
We don't know.
Right? The ball velocity was good. He had a really good sense of where players were. He navigated the pocket well. He mostly delivered the ball on time. Like, it wasn't just the flashy plays.
Like, he's got a better arm than Manziel. He's more accurate than Manziel. He moves better in the pocket. Manziel
he looked pretty bad to me last week.
He was bad, but then you saw. So I didn't think they were great those first. I think it was 3 drives, but then at the end there, you see like. Okay, those are some things that really Johnny Manziel, like, let's be real.
Manziel had a better college record
really
than Caleb Williams.
Yeah, but it's different. A&M, I mean, we can't compare the A&M to the US. Like, has nothing to do with how they're going to be as pros.
I think there's a correlation.
I don't know. Like, are we going to talk about Jameis Winston versus Patrick Mahomes in college? Like,
I think Manziel and Caleb are very similar players.
Like, Jameis Winston, you said was the greatest college football quarterback you've ever seen.
Yeah, and he sucked in the NFL.
Yeah, he sucked in the NFL.
Same happened to Caleb Williams.
But like Patrick Mahomes,
it's a different level.
At Texas Tech wasn't winning all the time. Like, yeah, this makes no sense. Like, Patrick Mahomes in college and Josh Allen were not superstars. They're great. Like, I don't like you can just because you're this or that in college does not mean you're going to be great or flame out in the NFL.
No, all I'm saying is I think that I wasn't a massive fan of Caleb in college.
We all know.
Similar to Manziel. Manziel ended up sucking, and then Caleb's on the same track. I'm not saying every college could be sucking in the NFL.
He's on the same track. I don't even know what that means. He's on the same track because he had 2 bad preseason drives and then dialed in.
When I see Manziel in college, I see Caleb Williams. It's the same thing. I'm not saying every single college QB sucks in the NFL.
I don't even know if I think they're that similar in college.
They're very similar. They both have these flashy plays, great plays. People talk about them, hype, and that's all I'm saying. Maybe Caleb proves me wrong. I think he's the next Johnny Manziel.
Okay.
Who was Manziel? 13-1 in the SEC. I mean, like,
yeah, I don't care.
The dude was awesome.
Like, I just don't care about the.
But then why are we so pumped about Caleb going 6-6 in the Pac-12? Like, what makes
people aren't excited about Caleb Williams because of his record in the Pac-12? They're excited because they actually watched the games.
But what is this? Yeah, what is this hype about this dude that nobody else has ever seemed to get?
I mean, what do you
Like,
mean nobody else? Anybody
what I'm
who's sat
saying,
back
we
and
have
watched.
seen a million quarterbacks, a million at the college level, look just as good as this guy.
That's
And this
just
guy's
not
like-
true.
No, I totally disagree.
I thought Justin Fields was amazing.
He was really good.
Marcus
but
Mariota.
You
Mariota's
have
more
to
like a
look
pass-
at the reasons why Caleb Williams was good in college. I agree there's a chance Caleb Williams might not turn out to be good, but
I think
saying the
there's a
names
better
of
chance he's a
quarterbacks who
bust
did
than
well
he's
in
this breakout
college,
superstar.
that's probably
Look
true.
at freaking Marcus Mariota. He was the same thing too.
no, but he
Lit up-
wasn't. He wasn't the same.
Lit up the Pac-12, went to the championship game.
But again, you're like, look at how Marcus Mariota played quarterback. It's like completely different than what the skill set that Caleb Williams showed.
Yeah, Caleb Williams' skill set is Johnny Manziel's.
Yeah, no, that's just wrong.
Why? Tell me why.
Johnny
What is-
Manziel did
what
not
is
have
Ca-
Caleb Williams'
you-
ability to operate in the pocket, and he certainly didn't have Caleb Williams' ability
You
to
watch
not get
Caleb-
arrested for a DUI.
Watch Caleb and tell me what makes him glaring better than anybody else you've seen at the college level, who's also very good.
I'm not saying he's the best player in college history.
Well,
I'm saying when you
people are
watch him in the
saying- but people
NFL
are saying it. That's
preseason,
my
he
point.
navigates a pocket well, and he looks pretty good. He looked pretty good.
Looked pretty crappy to me.
This
All right,
The
Jack.
dude is overrated, I'm telling you.
We're not
Jack
getting
doesn't like
anywhere
Caleb
here.
Williams. So Jack doesn't like Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
We'll
I
just
have
never
reasons
talk about
why.
the
I have
Bears for the
valid
rest of the
reasons
season
why not
if
to like
Jack's
him.
on the show.
That dude. Come at me in the comments. You'll see. I called Bryce Young too. He stinks.
I mean,
He's Manziel. And the guys who don't get all this hype, like Josh Allen, Mahomes, they end up being good.
Yeah, they didn't. Josh Allen didn't get hype. He was taken number 7 in
Dude,
the
I didn't
NFL
know who he
draft.
was. I didn't know who he was.
Patrick Mahomes didn't get hyped. He was just traded up.
No,
for
they
by the
didn't.
Chiefs
That
for a
year was
future
Trubisky
first.
and Watson, and I didn't even hear about Mahomes. The dudes
You're
who get, I'm telling you,
you're saying quarterbacks taken the first half of the first round of the NFL draft are getting no attention. It seems like you're the one
and
who's not
Allen
paying
didn't get the
attention.
attention Caleb did.
All right, man.
Yeah, you say, all right, you know I'm right.
Let's talk about Drake Maye. I can't do this anymore.
He's better than Caleb Williams too.
so Drake Maye. So the Eagles 14-13 beat the Patriots. May was 6 for 11 for 47 yards, 4 rushes, 15 yards, and a touchdown. When you go back and watch like every snap he had, nothing really. There's nothing that jumps off the page. I will give Drake a little credit. He had one deep ball I thought was really nice, just out of reach of the receiver. But my takeaway was from Drake Maye's preseason. There was nothing. I know that Ziggy, I think you liked Drake Maye's preseason a little more. It sounded in some ways than Bo Nix, which I personally didn't really get. But I wasn't wowed by much from Drake Maye. And I really sit back here looking at the Patriots situation. And I don't think that, again, preseason, it's a lot to figure out. I'm not going to write off Drake Maye at all. But I really believe that Gerard Mayo would make a huge mistake putting him in to start the year. So as of this recording, the Steelers and Patriots are the only teams to not announce their week 1 starter. And if I were a Patriots fan, I'm really hoping it's Jacoby Brissett, because this offense is just, it's a bad situation to put Drake Maye into. He would not succeed.
The thing that stood out to me about Drake Maye was he was going through reads in one sense really well. He was running the plays textbook, and that's very hard to do as a rookie quarterback coming in. I was really impressed by that. The problem was she should have been adjusting for the fact that his receivers are terrible. And I know that doesn't sound great to say, but he needed to be moving off of routes faster than a playbook says you need to, because guys were just not getting open.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I read this earlier, and I think this is going to be how things are for Drake Maye for a while, that he's a lot like Justin Herbert. He does a lot of these subtle things you need to succeed really, really well. But some of the things that are a little bit more obvious, like throwing the ball on target, which sounds like a big one, but in some ways ability to navigate the pocket or make reads is just as important, but not as obvious to a fan watching the game. Those he struggles more with. So I think, like Herbert, you're going to see, and he was drafted to a team that was pretty bad, you're going to see a lot of people who say that Drake Maye doesn't have it. He's coming along too slowly. He obviously doesn't have the skills to succeed. I saw something very different. I saw a very good player who's not very accurate and not in a system that supports him. Certainly not with an offensive line that supports him. And I see no reason to rush this guy out when he's doing a lot of things well, but he's going to get obliterated if he plays for the Patriots.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a bad spot for anybody except Joe Millen. I think he turns into a contender.
Joe Millen's a great guy to throw out there and have get tackled.
But I mean, like any one of these rookie QBs this season on New England, like it is probably the worst case scenario possible for any one of them.
Yeah, out of all the
it's not even close. Actually,
Broncos, Commanders, Vikings, Bears, and who am I forgetting? And Falcons doesn't really count.
It's the worst situation for any. It's worse than what Bryce Young has right now. It's the worst situation for any quarterback in the NFL.
It's brutal. I mean, I don't think throwing out Brissett and just seeing what happens and letting
you're throwing Jacoby to the Wolves.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Have you seen the start of the schedule? You got at the Bengals,
brutal,
host Seahawks, at the Jets, at the 49ers, host the Dolphins, host the Texans. There's probably 4 top 10 defensive lines in that.
I mean, Drake Maye's not ready for that.
No,
you want to throw Drake Maye and do road games at the Jets, at the 49ers with those 2 defensive lines? Seriously?
Well, yeah, I don't.
At the Jets will probably be home.
Ziggy, do you think if Drake Maye were playing for the Broncos right now, like, just making stuff up here, you're playing him week 1 probably, right?
I think the combination of you need to win now, the best guy in the room, and having a decent system around him, but also Drake Maye stylistically just really doesn't fit with what Sean Payton wants to do. So that's a weird kind of situation. But setting that aside, I think actually in most of these situations I'd be playing Drake Maye. Honestly, if the Patriots just had a better offensive line, I'd say play Drake Maye. That's why they're still thinking about it. But the offensive line has not looked good. And you just don't want your rookie quarterback to go out there and get pounded when the team's going to be near the bottom of the league, even if he lights it up.
I'm so immature that I smile when Ziggy said get pounded.
I think that
I'm trying to hold a little bit of laughter.
I don't mean also to make fun of like the Patriots receiving room. I actually think Kendrick Bourne, KJ Osborne, like DeMario Douglas. First off,
they're great wide receiver threes. Some of the best wide receiver threes in the NFL.
Yeah, they're very good wide receiver threes.
But they're all wide receiver.
They're all wide receiver threes, and that's where you need an alpha dog. Even the Giants, they're hoping Malik Neighbors turns into that guy. Like everyone acknowledges that Daniel Jones has not had a great group his entire career, but at least they have a guy now that they're hoping can be that. Drake Maye, up and down the roster. Hunter Henry's
he's always hurt. Austin Hooper's always hurt. So what, they're going to throw out Mitchell Wilcox? That's going to be his tight end 1.
Yeah, it's just a bad offense. And I don't know. I mean, we've seen stranger things, but this would be a pretty strange thing to see this Patriots offense.
And it's not just the players too, right? I mean, we've seen it's not like they've got a steady coaching position there where they've got a guy who knows how to run an offense. Like the offensive coaching has been a disaster for the past few years too. And I know it's a different regime, but it takes time to build up a good staff. You can't do that overnight, no matter how much you try. So this is not the year for New England.
The thing I want to make clear is this isn't doom and gloom. Like this isn't dooming. Like New England, they got Drake Maye.
This is not the year. That's all I'm saying. Next year might be the year. The year 100%. After might be the year. There's some great receivers in the draft next year. You improve the offensive line, get a free agent, get some better coaching, get Drake Maye some reps. Yeah, it's just no Patriots fan thinks this is the year, right? Everyone knows it's a transitional year.
It's the beginning. It's literally the start of the rebuild.
When you bring in Captain Joe.
Yeah, it will see how the season goes. But I actually think New England's in a good spot. They just need to be patient with it. That's what we're saying here. Okay, so the last topic we're going to talk about here. So that was all the rookie quarterbacks. Real quick.
Sorry, Michael Penix, but you can't start.
Yeah, sorry, Michael Penix, and obviously it sucks that JJ McCarthy isn't going. Okay, so real quick before we get to the final topic here. Of the 4 fan bases we said, which one would you be most excited for heading into the season? We don't have to get into anything, but like which fan base would you want to hop onto right now?
I'd probably go Commanders in a close call. Yeah,
it feels crazy to say the Bears, but between the defense, I think Caleb Williams is going to be decent. The low expectations.
You like Caleb Williams
system?
You like that? you like that bum?
I'm with you. I'm on the Bears.
I feel bad as a Vikings fan saying that I sympathize with the hope of Bears fans and feel like it's finally justified. Like, Paul, you know this. I have pointed at and laughed for most of the Justin Fields hype, for the Mitch Trubisky hype. Like, I've been there. I've done that. This year just feels a little bit different.
No, I'm with you. If I could pick any of them, I'd want to be a Bears fan right now. They're gonna have a fun.
These are strange times we're living in, Paul.
It's unfortunate times. As why
we are living in the new Babylon. This is one of the signs that the end is coming.
So a few, maybe like a month and a half ago, I guess now, we were doing our preseason division preview episodes, and we put out the AFC West video, and the Raiders fans were pretty upset with us when we said that Gardner Minshew is going to be the starting quarterback. Everything in the comments was, you kidding? Like, AOC's the guy. Oh, it's obvious.
And the only evidence I had was I pointed to the contract and said, that's a starter's contract.
2 years, $25 million, $15 million guaranteed. Yep, that's what you kept saying. You said, this is a starter's contract. You give this money. Like, you give this money to someone you want starting week 1 of the season. And the Raiders fans did not like that at all. Everyone came in saying Aiden O'Connell's the guy. You guys are idiots. And actually, what kind of has been reported now is that a lot of people thought Minshew had to come in and win the starting job, but it's actually sort of the opposite. In the Raiders building, it was Aiden O'Connell had to prove that he was the guy. And, what's one reason maybe to think that Aiden O'Connell would have to win? Oh, maybe because they gave Gardner Minshew his starter's contract. So, Ziggy, well done on that. Like, you were just right all along on that.
No, and honestly, I understand why Raiders fans said that, because if I were them, I'd certainly wish that Aiden O'Connell came in, lit it up, and looked good. But we have to remember, right? And I'm not out here to dump on Aiden O'Connell. But how many games were there last year where they needed him to put up any points at all? I think about like that Vikings game, right? You remember that. They just didn't put up anything at all, and he just couldn't get it done.
No, they were 5-5 in the 10 games he started. They closed the year 3-1. They actually lost to Minshew and the Colts. But even with the wins in there were a few games where I just looked and went, like, I understand it's cool that they're winning, and Antonio Pierce story is fun.
You cannot lose to a Nick Mullins-led Vikings team that puts up 3 points. You cannot do it. I'm sorry.
So the quarterback too.
Oh yeah, no, Minshew played well.
We saw him come in with Philly, and then
the Colts.
He should have made the playoffs last year with the Colts. I thought he was good, very good for the most part.
So he actually throughout training camp, he threw more interceptions than Aiden O'Connell did. But the reasoning, they said, it came down to experience and processing, and ultimately Minshew's escapability. So Luke Getsy, who was with the Bears last year, Justin Fields, who's a little bit more dynamic, we'll say, than Gardner Minshew. But Getsy likes to get out and have. So they were 10th in the NFL in play action passes, the Bears last year, first in designed rollouts. Minshew's good again out and making plays while on the move. Much better at that than Aiden O'Connell. That's one of the things that went into it here. And he ultimately just, I think we all agree, he gives them the best chance, a Raiders team that's better than people think, to be competitive. And it's not to say they're giving up completely on Aiden O'Connell. It's just he didn't make the strides they need to see this offseason to really hold on to that job. And maybe by midseason, if Minshew's struggling, we see another switch and he'll get a chance again.
The ceiling with Minshew is much higher than it is with Aiden O'Connell. With
I
Vegas.
Agree. What were you saying?
I will also, I was going to say, Vic Tafur, beat writer for the Raiders, he said that while nobody in the Raiders is saying it, he's heard on the inside, and he sees another motivation besides just their play is that internally people are worried that this offensive line is not healthy at all. Right? Remember, Jackson Powers-Johnson missed the entire bit of camp due to a concussion. Yep. Colton Miller is rehabbing, right, from that shoulder injury. Maybe he'll be back next week. Maybe he won't. But like, you're relying on Cody Whitehair and DJ Glaze to step in and get it done. Minshew has shown he can lead an explosive offense with not a lot around him. And also, just again, if you believe in Aiden O'Connell, I'm not saying it's just the same as the Drake Maye situation, but you may not want to throw your guy to the wolves to get beat up early in the season if you think your offensive line just needs a little time to gel and be healthy. So they could definitely bench Minshew at some point. But again, it's, they've got a tough start to the season, right? They play the Raiders week 2. They play the Browns week 4. They play the Steelers week 6. Those are some tough defensive lines. You might not regret letting Gardner Minshew go out there and take a few hits.
And another piece of credit to Gardner Minshew, and you've heard this basically everywhere he's gone. Antonio Pierce is saying the leadership is infectious. The personality is infectious. Even the quote that Minshew had after being named the starter, I think anytime you step in there as quarterback, whatever the situation is, your team at that point, and you have to treat it like that. He's owning this opportunity here, and we just said a moment ago, like the Raiders are not as bad as people think coming into the season. Do I believe they'll be a playoff team? Probably not, but like they're not.
They were almost a playoff team last year.
They're
one
of the handful. Like they're one of the handful of teams who can linger around at 7 seed.
Oh, Devontae, like the offense has obviously Adams.
They finally got Max Crosby, one of the best players in the NFL. Any help?
Yep, we got Max Crosby.
One guy.
Like it. That's a team that my guess is that they hang around and just miss it. But for now, with Gardner Minshew, with what he did last year, this was the right decision.
There's a team from Vegas in the Little League World Series, and that's how Antonio Pierce, Max Crosby, and Devontae Adams got on some like video
wished him luck.
Recording and wished him all luck. Yeah. I was watching that the other day.
Might be time to hop on the Raiders.
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe so. I mean, look, it's with Gardner Minshew, you've got a guy who's seen almost everything you can see in the NFL, right? He had that crazy hype 2019 season. Then he fell off a cliff, became a backup, was suddenly thrust back again into a full-time starter role in Indianapolis. Like, this is a guy who can roll with the punches.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some very questionable hygiene habits, but setting that aside, he's a very good. He sleeps on a mattress he got out of a dumpster.
He's got a little magic to him, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I mean, that's magic, venereal disease. It's hard to say what's what.
What do you think the strangest thing he's found in his mustache is? Like ever.
Minshew?
Like a little animal or something?
I bet there's been a little.
I think there's a squirrel in there.
I bet something
now.
Something lived in there before.
A little mouse or something?
A little mouse. Oh, God. So there you have it. An episode filled with Las Latinas, a little bit of conflict, some Gardner Minshew mustache. Like this episode had everything.
19-year-old girls.
1999.
No. For the record, I did not make that up. He is proud of sleeping on a mattress that he got out of the trash.
Yeah, that's that. I can't really just get behind. I just can't get behind.
Like that's deranged. But you need to be a little bit deranged to succeed in the NFL, right?
Yeah, definitely to some degree at least. Except Kirk Cousins. Gosh, Kirk Cousins had an Instagram post. Did you guys see that about the water park?
No, but Kirk Cousins is deranged just because he's so not deranged, right? Like you're such a normal guy. You take a day off to spend with your family. You go to the water park. Like it makes you worried there's something deeper going on. Like he's either normal he doesn't belong.
Kirk's a weirdo.
No, Kirk's guy's quirks.
Kirk's a weirdo.
Yeah, but I mean, we all do. I think I'd be similar to Kirk. Like I feel like I can most relate to Kirk.
Well, we're weird. I'm a weirdo. You're a weirdo.
Well, I don't mean like a weirdo's not. Like I just say Kirk is a quirky guy. Like he does the thing with the rocks and it's all of his like he's ridiculously committed. And I just saw that post the other day where he was talking about the water park, and I very rarely comment anything on Instagram, but I just commented, how can you not love Kirk Cousins? I mean, this guy's he's the best.
Well, who do you think most people would say is a bigger weirdo out of our fan base, me or you?
Oh, I think you
clear.
I think you squad wipe.
What, like 60-40? Or it'd be like more?
I think it'd be
like 90-10.
Yeah, I think it'd be higher than 80-20. I think somewhere in the 80s.
That's big.
It would be big. But I mean, they're not wrong.
Yeah,
they won't be wrong.
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Thanks again to everyone for listening. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Almost up to 12,000 before the season starts.
No, that's the first time you've said that during this video. We didn't even get through the intro.
I know. I was just scrolling back through our notes for the show, and I saw all the CTA stuff and went, forgot that. You can become a member. I'm going to put a link to becoming a member in the description. You can always listen on audio if you can't catch us on YouTube. And our merch store is down right now. It should be back up pretty soon. I've been working on that most of the day to get the merch, the t-shirts back up. And we've actually had some people browsing the store and buying some shirts. So we appreciate everybody who's been checking that out. Again, the best thing you can do for us is to just share with your friends. Share any social clips. It's free. Share any social clips, share the videos. Tell them to leave comments. We've seen things on Reddit before. That's always cool, having people talk about the show, usually in a good light, sometimes in a bad light. It's part of the gig.
We've been negged a little bit, right? Like somebody said, you can tell they're an amateur podcast, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, we take backhanded compliments as well as anybody here. So we appreciate everybody who does engage with us, and we try and get back to anyone who does as soon as possible. So we'll be back next week. College football actually starts this weekend. We get some college football action.
The cap of the week will return next week.
Returning soon.
Next week, yeah, the cap of the week is finally back.
It better not be Clemson, or I'm quitting the show.
I'm still looking for my week 1 sign. I haven't gotten it yet. I have no idea.
That's part of the magic.
I guess week 0.
Part of the magic is
I have no clue who I'm going to pick.
You don't find it, Jack. It comes to you.
I might find it like Saturday, like 11 a.m. We don't know.
Well, by showtime, I'm sure it'll be there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, showtime it'll be there.
I mean, last year that heater, 7 in a row, 8 in a row.
I'm looking to go 12 in a row this year.
Looking at the undefeated season. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week.